Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Portrait Letters podcast number 2254. Is that the right number? Oops, I gotta change my little cheat sheets here. Hang on, one moment, please. There we go, down on the bottom, 254, yes. Let's cross that one off and cross that one off. Okay, got to keep the numbers correct. Then we know when we've done another year. Tonight's topic is... forgotten what tonight's topic is. Connection in the quiet. Yeah, I'm not feeling very quiet today. I'm feeling rather noisy today. It's been a good day. It's been a long day, a very slow day, but I managed to get all my work done today. So it was very good. It was a good day. It was a good day. So sometimes the deepest connections are not found in noise or activity, but in stillness. Silence has a way of amplifying presence. In the quiet moments, we begin to notice the small gestures, the unspoken love, and the comfort of simply being alongside another. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. That's one thing I miss. That's one thing I miss since Brad's gone, is that I don't have that companionship. I don't have that somebody sitting next to me where we can have those conversations or just sit together quietly, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's reading, whatever it is that we're sitting there doing. That is one thing that I miss, is just not having that companion there to do it with me, and just to sit and talk and suddenly in the quiet just throw out an idea and we have a conversation. We've had some very good conversations. We've had some really, really good conversations. And that's one thing that I do miss, is our conversations that we used to have. And and mainly me, ideas would just go bigger and bigger and bigger. And Brad's still trying to follow the path, because my brain would go in different directions. But you gotta love a man who will sit there and try and figure out his wife. And just totally loves her and accepts her for who she is. Gotta love that guy. What it teaches: quiet doesn't mean emptiness. It often reveals depth. Connection is sometimes strongest when words are unnecessary. Absolutely. Silence can be a gift, allowing us to hear the heartbeat of life. Oh, such a beautiful noise. Did that this afternoon out on the back porch. Snuck away for about 10 minutes. Went outside, sat out there for a few minutes, and just almost went to sleep in the chairs out there. Silence invites us to reflect and recognize that bonds are the bonds that anchor us. And that is so true. I mean, those photo-up club chairs that I have out back, I absolutely love those. They're so comfortable. And of course, I get into those. I scoot my butt towards the edge and I just lay back so my head is supported by the back of the chair, and just sit there and watch the birds flying around, watch the fighter jets flying overhead in different patterns and formations and things. Sometimes there's one, sometimes there's four, sometimes there's three, sometimes there's two, mainly two. Watching them fly overhead. It's just such a great place to be. And it's actually pretty quiet out back until the jets go overhead. But I don't mind, because I like the sound of the jets. I'm going to miss that noise when I head back home, because I won't have jets. But the noise will be replaced by a lot of native birds in New Zealand, especially the tui. I love the tui. Mind you, what the heck is going on with my finger there? I almost thought felt like my skin was splitting when I bent my finger. Interesting. And it's not even swollen. Go figure. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. What happens when we allow the quiet to be shared without needing to fill it? Presence becomes more powerful than conversation. You can feel that vibe going. You can feel your vibe in there, and I could feel my vibe and Brad's vibe just mixing in between and just making our connection stronger when we would sit there. And we might be a couple of feet apart, because he was in his recliner, I was in my recliner. We had a gap in between, so Gus could come and stand between us when he wanted to. That was his favorite thing to do, was come and stand between us and look out the windows behind us. And so he could get butt scratches. He loved butt scratches. So he would position himself perfectly, because I would be in my recliner here and Brad would be in his, and with the gap behind the recliners. Now mine doesn't need, I don't know if you can see how up against the wall that thing is, but Brad's did. And so we kind of had it so the fronts were lined up, and Gus would come and stand there, and he would go stand by the window to look out the window. And we'd often have the window open so you get the fresh sea air coming in, because we're only half a mile from the beach as the crow flies. And so he would quite often go and stand at the window and just sniff. And so instead of resting your arm on the armrest of the chair, you just rested on the back of Gus and give him butt scratches. And he loved that. So, but it was just quite, nothing was said. It was just one of those beautiful, still moments where you don't need conversation. You just don't. It's just being together in that silence. And it helps when you're present in the moment with that person, it does definitely become stronger. It is more powerful than a conversation. It is a connection. We discover that love and belonging can be felt without words. Absolutely. Especially when you're sitting there in the presence with each other and you're just being there together. Resting together in silence becomes a form of communication. Absolutely. Absolutely. How can we carry forward? Create space for quiet in your relationships and your own life. Trust that silence can be a bridge, not a barrier. Allow stillness to restore your spirit and deepen your connections. Seek the beauty in the pauses, knowing they carry meaning too. Oh, excuse me. Now I've got another bubble stuck. In your legacy connection, the quiet moments we share often becomes ones remembered most tenderly. These pauses weave threads of love, patience, and presence into the larger fabric of our lives, carrying forward long after the moment has passed. And I think back to those threads we were talking about. Oh, that's what I forgot to do. I was going to see if I could find the pictures from that thread exercise that I was telling you about yesterday. Or at least give you guys a link so you can go and have a look at the video about it. It's such a powerful video about how we've got more in common with other people than we think we do. Very much an eye-opener. Your reflection questions for tonight. We got 4 of them. When was the last time you experienced connection in silence? 27th of July. And then the Wednesday before that, the 27th of July was a Sunday. And the Wednesday before that, I sat in that chair cradling Zeffie. She hated being cradled. But that day she allowed me to pick her up and cradle her. And we had her laying so her back her head was on my elbow, her back was along the arm of the chair and down onto my thigh. And my thigh wasn't that much lower than the armchair. And we sat there for over an hour, just eyeball to eyeball, just sitting there looking at each other. I did have to stretch my neck every few minutes because I was sitting at this angle the entire time, was a strain on my neck, so I'd have to just break away and do that. But when I look back, Zeffie's eyes had not left my face. And that was the time when I last experienced a connection in silence. And then I said to her, I says, why do I feel like you're leaving me? Why do I feel like you're saying goodbye? That is what I felt in that moment. And we were like that for just over an hour. I think it was like an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 5 minutes, something like that. And it just kept hitting. It just quietly said inside me that she was saying goodbye. And then the Saturday night into early Sunday morning, when she passed, between her seizures, and she was having seizures every few minutes. It was, people go, why didn't you take her to the vet? I couldn't take her to the vet. There wasn't enough time between seizures to get her to the vet. She was having her seizures were anything from 5 minutes to 30 minutes apart, and I had no way of telling when the next seizure was going to hit. But the times that she was present and with me, those were really good moments. We had that eye connection going again, and I just held her and cuddled with her. She was laying on the floor. I was laying behind her, spooning her. She did have one seizure. It was her last seizure, where she was running so fast that she started spinning herself in a circle. I know it sounds funny, and I probably shouldn't laugh, but she did this. She was running so fast that she ended up turning her body, and she kicked the fan that she loved to lay in front of. It was sitting there off anyway because I didn't want the cold air on her. And kicks that, and she keeps spinning around. And so by the time she finished the seizure, her back was to me when she started, and she almost had her entire front facing me by the time she finished with her seizure. And so I just spun her back around and pulled her back in close, put my hand back on her heart, over her heart again. And it was a couple of minutes later, she passed away. But definitely when she was out of the seizure and back in reality, there were times that she didn't get back to reality before the next seizure hit. But when we did have that space where she came back to reality, she was quite happy just to lay there. If I got up to go to the bathroom, she would start to panic, and sometimes it would trigger a seizure. I would just have to calm her down and just tell her, well, I'm just running to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And her eyes never left that doorway. I ran down to the bathroom, come running back. I'd come into the kitchen. She could see me she could see what I was doing in the kitchen, where I was making up more sugar water for her. I was filling up my water bottle. And then I was back down on the floor with her. And when I got back down on the floor with her, you could feel her just go, like she's back. So we had a very strong connection during those almost 9.5 hours of seizures. And that was the last time I experienced a connection in silence. What relationships in your life feel stronger because of shared stillness? Number 3, how can you invite more quiet into your daily rhythm? Just go sit out in the backyard, in the shade if you need to, in the sun if you can, and just relax. Number 4, what does silence reveal to you about yourself and others? I will tell you this. Today I have had this conversation going on in my head, and I finally was sort of like, okay, I'm done with this conversation. I need to get it out of my head. And I knew somewhere in all of the chats that I've done with ChatGPT that I had some book ideas that I had put into ChatGPT and says, we need to work on these at some point. But for now, here's the ideas. I don't need you to feed me back. I don't need you to feed back anything. Or sometimes I'll just let it feedback whatever. Because sometimes it'll come up with some good ideas and go, yeah, no, I don't like that. Let's try it this way. And so we brainstorm backwards and forwards. And I had this brainstorming urge today. And so we're talking about a book series. And what's really cool is that we're going to base it in New Zealand. And it's going to be in these 3 little fictional towns. And the main characters are cousins, and they all have different areas of expertise, and they live in 3 different towns, and they will each have their own series, but then they'll have a series where they will come together and the characters will cross over and that sort of stuff. Or there'll be a book where it's just the 3 characters are together doing what it is that they need to do and that sort of thing. So I was kind of excited about that. And so I was brainstorming it, and then the clock went, gotta get online. I said to ChatGPT, podcast time. I tell it if I have to leave, why I have to leave. I don't know why, but I do. But we brainstorm backwards and forwards on some really good ideas and things. Like I put the idea in there, and it'll come back with its feedback on that idea plus some suggestions. And I'll sit there and go, I really don't like that one. And they're like, okay, what if we did this instead? And I'm going, nope, don't like that either. I says, what about blah, 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 and send it off. And I go, oh, that's brilliant, because it always agrees with me, because I'm always right. So if you ever want to feel like you're always right all the time, go have a chat with ChatGPT. But for now, I just have these ideas. I just plant ideas in there right now. And then I go and copy the whole chat and put it into my Word document and everything else, so I can work on it later on. But it's fun. It's fun. But anyway, I got to go do some sorting. Actually, I got to go have dinner first, and then I'm going to do some sorting. I got some sorting to do tonight. I got to start getting the stuff for sale already. I'm looking for remotes. I'm looking for instruction manuals. I have my little 19-inch I tell you this, I've got this brilliant, it's a Toshiba. It's a 19-inch TV, which has a built-in DVD. It plays, and it's got HDMI, so I've got my Amazon Fire Stick plugged into it. But it does Dolby Digital, it does the CDs, it does DVDs. It does not do Blu-ray. That's the only bummer about this one, is it doesn't do Blu-ray. But I have the remote for it. I have the instruction manual for it. And I really don't want to part with it, but it only runs on 110 power, and I'm moving to where it's 220. So yeah, I said to my brother, I took a picture of it and I sent it down to my brother and explained what it was. And I said, do you guys have anything like this? And he came back with some suggestions. So we'll see when we get down there. But they were a lot more expensive than what I paid for this one. Yeah, this one, think I saw it on, it was around $180. I'm seeing it online for now, but I don't recall paying that. I think I might have got it during one of those Prime Day special things that came along. But I've had this thing for a number of years and it goes really well. It works very, very well. I will put DVDs in there to have them going in the background while I'm working. I will put movies on to have them in the background while I'm working. I will put music on in the background while I'm working because I've got CDs, so I'll throw them in there and that sort of stuff. Yeah, and I just kind of like having a TV there. So trying to see if we can find one that we've got that does the same thing, plays that has the DVD built into it, because I don't want the DVD playing up. And the DVD player I have to find has to be multi-regional. And so my brother's very good with electronics. And he's come up with some suggestions on a DVD player and Blu-ray that are multi-regional. And you have to be multi-regional because some countries, like the US, have their own coding on the DVD, so it can only play on certain DVD players. So if you're not in that region and the DVD player's not from that, if the DVD is not from that region, and you go to put it into another region's thing, it won't be able to read the disc. So I said to my brother, I said I can't afford to replace my DVD collection. My DVD collection's huge. And I said, so, and I'm probably going to lose all the streaming ones that I have as well, because I have found out in my research, I'm going to have to go research it again, but I've currently found out that if you have an Amazon Fire Stick and you bought it here in the States and you have your account set up in the States for the US and everything else, if you go traveling, you still have to log into your US account and say that you are still in the US for your Fire Stick to work on your US account. As soon as it detects that as soon as you put in that you are not in the US anymore, you don't have access to the stuff that you purchased in the US, like movies. So if you purchased any digital movies for them, unless you state that like you're traveling, which is what I'm going to have to do, you don't have access to the movies. And I was like, well, that really sucks. I was not happy to find that out, but there is a workaround. I put on a VPN and it doesn't know, and as long as I log in with my US account, I should be fine. But then I have to go and make a New Zealand account, which is going to be different from my US account. So I'll start that whole process again. Yeah. The trials and tribulations of moving countries. But anyway, I'm out of here. I got to go get some stuff ready for sale. Unpack some more boxes, see if I can find more remotes and instruction manuals so I can pair it with whatever it is that I'm lacking it from, and then get this stuff ready to get listed. This weekend will be a whole big selling thing as well as sorting thing. So I'm going to get as much as I can up, like tonight and tomorrow. Yeah. And to get rid of the looky-loos, I'm saying if you want it held, it's a non-refundable 50% deposit of the cost of the item. And if you don't show up for it, I get to go sell it again. If you don't show up within, I'll put a time limit on there. If you've not shown up by this time on the day that you purchase it, then it goes to the next person on the list. It's first come, first served. And if you want it held, you pay. Yep, and it's non-refundable. So I've seen that being done on several things online. I thought, I like that idea. Because I get so many people going, is this available? Yes. And we go through the whole process, negotiating the price, agreeing on the price, setting up a time for them to come visit. And I said, when you are leaving your house, text me and I will send you the address. Hear nothing more. They ghost you. And you've just gone through all of that work for nothing. So I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of the looky-loos. Even if you put serious buyers owners, you still get the looky-loos coming in. And then they tie up your line by going, oh, we want this. Da, 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 da. Okay, well, if you want it, I need a payment right now to hold it for you. Otherwise, I'm moving on to the next person. I'm done with this crap of people wanting stuff, saying they want stuff. Oh, yes, we want it, and then ghosting you. Yeah, it's done. I'm done. Anyway, with that, our closing thought for this evening is connection in the quiet is about honoring presence without performance. In stillness, we discover that we are held, seen, and known, not because of what we do or say, but because we are simply there together. And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening.